Lyndon, and thank you so much for coming to my channel. So today I want to talk about live public performance and should you do it. And if you want to make this a really short video, then should you perform in public in front of friends or at jam sessions? Yes, you should. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for coming. If you'd like a little bit more detail, then stick around because I'm going to break down different types of performance work that you could possibly do. And right at the end of this, I don't want to make this about me, but I want to tell you a couple of hopefully interesting stories about how I got into performance and the very cool things that have happened to me as a result of getting out there with my saxophone and engaging with the wider world, if you like. Some very, very cool things have happened. So if we break down the different types of performance that you could do, often the first one that people do is to perform in front of friends and family, and this often entails maybe at Christmas time or a barbecue or a birthday party, getting their saxophone out with a speaker that's got a backing track and playing along to a tune that they've learned. And actually this is really hard to do, and the reason for that is you're right there in front of them, so everybody's staring at you and the proximity is very low, so people are like you're in the same room as someone. There's really nowhere to escape and there's no other things going on other than you performing on your saxophone, so it does make it really hard. I still recommend that you do it, but it is quite hard to do that. So you would think that that might be really easy because you're playing in front of loved ones and people who are hopefully supportive, but often friends and family can tease you quite a bit or say things that might really hurt. And this has happened to several of my clients where friends or family have said, oh, well, don't give up your day job, or you've still got a way to go or something, and they don't mean to hurt, but actually their comments can really have a very strong impact on people when they play in front of their friends or family. Honestly, it can be really harsh. So even though you think that might be an easy thing to do, it is really hard. With any of these performance situations, the thing to do is repetition. Make sure that you've played whatever it is that you're going to perform, not 5 times or 10 times, but 30 times or 40 times or 50 times, preferably memorized, so that you can just do it in your sleep, and there you've got much less chance of messing things up or getting lost or getting stuck or not being sure of what it is that you're going to do. That's the secret, it's repetition. Another way that you can get your sax out in public is go to jam sessions, and these can be found in your local area. Pubs often have them, or bars. Have a look in your local area, have a look on social media, places like Facebook, for jam sessions or open mic nights. That's a really good way to go. Surprisingly, I think this is much easier because you're not the central focus of attention, and you're also within a group where there might be loads of people of varying different levels of experience, and so you kind of blend in a little bit more. It's not like the friends and family situation where it's just you. That is so hard. So in a jam situation, again, you've got a very friendly and receptive audience who want you to do well. That can make you feel a little bit more comfortable about going along to one of these jam sessions. Again, whatever you're going to do, make sure that you've learned it really well. Don't go in under-prepared. Another way that you can do some public performance is what we call in the UK busking. I'm not 100% sure that you American people use this term, but busking essentially means when you perform in the street and you maybe open up your case or not, and people throw money in your case. Now personally, I have done tons of busking, but again, it's not about me. But I can tell you that the hardest part of busking is not playing in the street. It's everything that leads up to that moment. When you're putting your saxophone, you're packing up your sax thinking, I'm going busking, especially for the first time. It's incredibly hard, and it gets harder as you get nearer to the location and that moment where you're actually going to get your saxophone out and start playing. It just gets harder and harder until the very final few seconds where you've got your saxophone in your mouth and you're just about to play in the street. That is incredibly hard, and often, if you've never done it before, every fibre of your being will be going, what on earth are you doing? Have you lost your mind? You're going to get arrested, or people are going to throw rocks at you, or it's just going to be all bad, right? It really, really is such a hard thing to do. And this is because you are cutting yourself off from the rest of society. The moment that you start playing a note in the street, you are not a member of the general public anymore. You have crossed the line and you are now into kind of some isolated realm of performance. You are a performer in the middle of the street. So it's a very, very, very hard thing to do. But when you do it, magic will happen, I guarantee you. People will come up and speak to you and talk to you. People come up, especially if you're playing the saxophone, people will come up to you in the street and say, I love the saxophone, I absolutely love it. I think it's the most wonderful thing and you play it really well. And will you be in my band, or will you play at my birthday party, or can you play at my wedding, or can you teach me how to do it? All of these things are going to happen to you if you go to play in the street. It's such good fun. It's really, really, really worth doing. And you can make some money as well, potentially, which is what happened to me. And if you play well and people like what you do, you can make really very good money busking. So there is that. Then there are, I guess, more professional kind of gigs that you could do. And the easiest ones to find, maybe, if you have a repertoire of tunes or you have some sort of act. Again, I'm kind of thinking about what I did, which was play to backing tracks that are on an iPad connected to a speaker. And if you have a repertoire of tunes where you can play like this, I actually did it with my wife, who's a singer, so we had this act of vocals and saxophone. It worked really, really well, but I've done it on my own as well, and both work. So you could do some free performance if you don't have too much experience. And this is just fantastic because it's a win-win situation for everybody concerned. And you could go to places like hospitals, a hospice, or a local charity and contact them and ask them if they would like some free entertainment. Hospitals, you'd be surprised. Often they would really love that if you came round and played your instrument, and it would just brighten up the people's day that are in hospital or in a hospice. It's something different. It lifts people's spirits. And even if you distract people just for a few moments from things that they might be struggling with, that's fantastic. You've done a really, really wonderful thing, and you've gained some experience at the same time. So like I said, it's a win-win situation. I strongly recommend that you do it. Could also ask your local charity about fundraising. Would you like me to supply some free music at your next fundraising event? This is really good for them because they'll put it on their flyer. The next fundraiser we have, we're going to have some live music there for 20 minutes or half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever you want to do. So that's another really good way to go. Then there are paid gigs which you can do, and this can be done in a number of ways. If you're part of a band, you could be playing in pubs or clubs, and that's really, really good fun as well. You can earn money doing it, and it's just a fantastic experience. That can be quite late in the evening, so that's something to sort of take into consideration. And if you're in a band of 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 people, then in order to make it viable for a pub or a club, then they can't pay you, like, you know, they can't pay everybody thousands of pounds or dollars because it's just not viable for them. So often the money is not tremendous, but the fun level is high, and it can lead on to other opportunities, and you get loads of experience out of it, so still really worth doing. Then there is another level of professional gigs that you can do, which is personally what I've spent most of my career doing, which is the function circuit. So I've spent all of my time really playing it in functions. This is weddings, private parties, corporate events, birthday parties, funerals, and other social gatherings where a bit of background music is required. And these gigs can really pay quite well. What you need to have if you want to do this kind of work is you need a really good repertoire, and you'd need some other stuff as well. So you'd need some kind of show reel and perhaps a website or a brochure, and maybe a Facebook page or YouTube clips of you playing so that people can look to see what it is that they're going to get before they book you. And that obviously can take some investment and some time. You might need to get a professional photographer or a videographer and make some videos and the better quality you make it, the more chance that you're going to get gigs. So with this kind of work, you can really charge whatever you want to charge. It's really up to you and what the market will sustain. So how do you get into a band? Right, the best way to get into a band, in my opinion, apart from looking on social media, you could put a little advert out, have a look in your area and find rehearsal studios. If you find a rehearsal studio, then that's where musicians are going to be hanging out, bands are going to be hanging out, and they're going to have a notice board, put a sign on a notice board saying saxophonist looking for a band, and you know, you'll get calls. You really will, because saxophone is a hard instrument to play well. There's always going to be a spot in a band for a really good sax player. So advertising in a rehearsal studio or a recording studio in your area is a really good way to go. Also having a look on social media, and then also by busking. Busking is such a great showcase, because if there are any musicians in the area and they hear you playing and they like what you do, then you can get into a band that way. So thank you for watching the video this long. I hope some of this information has been useful to you. And I want to share with you some of my own personal experience. So I started off busking. The way that I got into busking was I had a motorcycle. I lived in London, and my motorcycle kept getting stolen. I would go down in the morning, my motorbike had gone, I'd phone the police. They would tell me that my motorbike had been found by the police on the other side of the country. I'd have to get on a train, go to the other side of the country, pick up my bike. It would always be smashed up, take it to the repair shop, get it fixed, cost me a lot of money, park the bike again, and the same thing would happen. It would get stolen and taken away somewhere. It was so annoying. And this happened, I think on the third occasion this happened, I was just, I'm gonna scream, right? And I thought, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to scream. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go home, I'm going to get my saxophone, I'm going to stand in the middle of the pavement on the high street in London where I lived, outside this supermarket. I'm going to get hold of my sax and I'm just going to scream. I'm going to play some blues scales and just play some tunes. I'm just going to go mad, and I'm going to wait until the police come and take me away. Actually, what happened was I did go down to the street, I started playing, and people started throwing money in my case. I was a fairly competent player at the time. This is a long time ago, but I could play fairly decent saxophone music, I suppose, and people started throwing money in my case. And being self-employed, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, I've just discovered a part-time job here. This is absolutely brilliant. And then somebody from the supermarket started walking towards me in a suit, and he had a name badge on, and I said, even before he got anywhere near me, I said, look, don't worry mate, I'm packing up, I'm going, I'm sorry. It was the manager of the supermarket, and he said, no, I love it, stick around, come and play outside the front door, there's a heater there, because it was December, it was really cold, and could you play some Christmas carols? And don't stay for too long, 40 minutes, that would be absolutely brilliant. And that's what I did. And I played, and by the time I got home, and I had this massive sack full of change, it was absolutely unbelievable. And I discovered a new part-time job, and I used to go at the weekends for fun, especially in the summertime. I used to go out and busk in the streets of London, outside supermarkets, and it was all good. It was absolutely fantastic. I also did this while I was on holiday. I went backpacking through Thailand, and while I was in Thailand, there was lots of bands in the restaurants in this place. I was in Koh Samui, absolutely beautiful island, and they had these lovely restaurants with live bands in there. I'd take my sax with me, I would open up the sax case and let the band see that I had a saxophone with me. They usually were very excited, come up and play, come up and play. And because I knew my blues scales, I was able to jam along with pretty much anything that they were doing. And again, rather like the busking analogy, it makes you cross a boundary. No longer was I just some tourist. Now I was a member of the band, sort of, for the evening. And they would ask me, where are you staying? What are you doing tomorrow night? There's a jam session down the road. Come to this gig, come to that gig. And I'd be connected, and I'd have friends. And it was just a wonderful way of interacting with the world. So thoroughly recommend doing that if you're able to, and if you want to be able to do that, learn all of your blues scales, and you'll be able to jump in and step in and play a solo, and it's a very powerful thing to be able to do. My last story for you is around the time that I earned £88,000 as a result of busking, and this was because one Saturday afternoon I said to my wife, let's go busking, and she was, oh no, you're crazy, what are you talking about, you know, why you want to do these crazy things? I said, come on, let's go, it's a beautiful day, we got nothing to do, grab a speaker, grab your microphone, grab the sax and some backing tracks, let's do it. And we did. So we drove down a couple of miles away from our house, we set up in the street, we started playing, and as a result of that, a restaurant owner walked past and took one of my business cards. He called us at a later stage and said, I'd like you both to come and play in my restaurant. We played in there for a year, And because of that, somebody saw us playing in that restaurant and asked us to play in another restaurant a few miles down the road, and we got a residency in there. We started playing regularly in there as well. And because of that, a bride who was somebody who's getting married asked us to play at her wedding, and her wedding was being held in this really lovely piano cocktail bar in North London, very kind of expensive upmarket place. I'd been trying to get in there for years. I kept going to the owner and saying, here's my demo, you should, you know, let us come and play in your restaurant. And he was like, yeah, I've got a stack of demos, I'll get through it, yeah, thanks for coming, but I'll see you next time. And he kept fobbing me off. And so we got a gig in there, and when the guy saw us play, he said to us, I love you guys and I want you to play 3 nights a week. Every week, and we played in that place 3 nights a week for 4 years, and that paid us a great deal of money. And also loads of people saw us playing there, and we got gigs off the back of it, and all kinds of really cool things happened. We made friends and our lives changed, and it was all because of this one busking gig. So if you're thinking about going busking or doing some public performance, it's the most powerful thing that you can do. And here is my last story. Now imagine, I just want you to be open-minded. Imagine that you go busking in the street and you play in front of hundreds of people. Now imagine that one of those people that didn't even come and speak to you, but they've walked past, they're 20 meters away, so you don't even know that they exist, and they see you playing your saxophone, and they think to themselves, look at that person, look. They've got the guts to get out and play their instrument in public. That sounds so nice. And I've got my trombone / guitar / trumpet trombone in the cupboard at home, and I haven't picked it up for 20 years, right? I should take a leaf out of their book and go home. I'm inspired. I'm going to go home and I'm going to pick up my trombone and I'm going to start practicing again. And then generations later, 2 people are speaking, how did you get into music? Yeah, well, my granddad came home one day and just started playing his trombone. I think he'd seen somebody in the street or something, I forget what it was, but he came home very inspired, started playing his trombone. He used to play it to me when I was a little kid, and that's how I got into guitar, piano, trumpet, and passed it on. So when you play in public, the effect that you can have on other people's lives is immeasurable. You can't imagine the power of it. And my very, very last thing is that one time I was in New Zealand and I saw a singer and a guitar player playing in the bar that I was having my dinner in. They saw that I had a saxophone, and the guitar player invited me to come up and play a number with them, which I did. And 8 months later, I married that singer. And here I am 23 years later, and we're still married, and we've got an 18-year-old son who's going to the Guildhall to study piano, jazz piano. So I can't... This is why I want to share this with you, because the power of music and playing music in public is absolutely mind-boggling, and you should definitely go and do it because it will change your life. I promise you, it absolutely will. Must stop waffling. Thank you so much for the support, and if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do, and I'll see you in the next video. Go out busking. Take care, guys. Bye. Bye-bye.